What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
Do we ever know what episode number this is?
75. Well, last week we didn't. Yeah, last week we didn't know. Remember?
True, we didn't. Well, we weren't sure because of the live recording too.
Yeah.
If it was like the live recording was like 74A, and you know the short recording we did after that was 74B. So this is a clean cut. Welcome to episode 75.
Welcome to episode 75.
Welcome to episode 75. Hello everyone. This is probably the shortest that we've gotten straight into the episode intro, but yes, welcome to episode 75. As always, my name is Owen. That is my sister Casey. If you're new here, if you're just joining us, we are a brother-sister duo that has fallen in love with all things F1, and we hang out every week and we record ourselves talking about it and rambling about it. And that's what you're currently listening to. So thank you for tuning in if you are listening.
And thank you. And if you make it to the end of each episode each week, thank you.
Yeah, you're a true warrior if you make it to the end of each episode. So yes, thank you for tuning in. The way that these episodes kind of flow is we'll start out, we'll pick and show our memes of the week, just jokes that have come out, over the week in the F1 world, and especially with races and everything going on again. They are good. They're good.
Yeah, it's always easy when there's a race.
Yeah. And then after that, we'll hop into some weekly news. Just kind of talk about some of the stuff that's been going on. Following that, I have a pints and pit stops for Casey. It is, as I'm sure some of you can guess, Monza GP related. And then we'll do our Monza recap. Casey almost screwed me up on the notes because she has it written down as Spa recap. So
sorry.
I almost just said Spa recap.
Oh, man, change it.
We'll do our Monza recap. We'll talk about some highlights of the race. We will do our driver and constructor standings championship update. And then we'll jump into our new favorite segment, the F1Threads Mailbag, where we post on Threads every Tuesday when we record, just saying, hey, if you have any questions, let us know. It's a new segment we've been doing. We love it. It's great. That's how we'll round out the show. So we hope you stick around till then. So, Case, do you want to go first for your meme of the week?
Yeah, I do. Let me change it up. Hold on. Meme of the week. So obviously, it's no secret if you're new here who my favorite driver is. It's Charles LeClerc. So obviously, this past week was a very, fun race to watch. I do have to say, I feel like every week, every time there's a race, I'm like, there's no way it's better than the last. Like the previous race.
And it's better than the last.
Yeah, they just keep going.
It's better than the last.
Yeah. So this is my meme of the week. It's a little political, so I apologize. I don't mean it in the political sense. So it's from Formula One God. They took this, the crowd, a picture of the crowd from Obama's inauguration, Trump's inauguration, and then Charles Leclerc on the podium with all the tifosis behind him. Someone wrote somewhere on Twitter, I think, or on Threads, that there might have been almost a mile long of tifosi on the grid after the race.
I would not be shocked about that. I mean, the place is riddled with them, as you would expect. It's just.
But yeah, so that's the pictures, because it looks way more than the prior two pictures above it. So I thought that was funny, and that was it's very short and simple.
It is so immense just how many people are in that picture. Mm-hmm. Even this, you got to think this small corner right here.
Oh,
is 100 people, and then you just do it all the way back. Oh, I can't even imagine.
It would be terrifying to be stuck in that, to be in that crowd once you get ready to leave, but to experience Ferrari win, a Charles Leclerc win in Monza on the grid with all the tifosi. Yeah, it has to be an unreal experience. Like that.
I can't even imagine what it feels like.
No, and then they all stay there and wait for him to come back out and Carlos to come back out, and they like jump up onto the barrier, like to the fence and stuff. Yeah, no, unreal.
It is a religion to them, to the tifosi. It is. It's an immense feeling, and I can't imagine the like patriotic pride that they had. Like,
I showed you and I showed you guys the videos last night of Maranello after he won.
Yes,
the church bells were going. The cars down the street. People were hanging out of them. The horns were just blasting. Yeah, it's literally. What was it, Alex Chase? Born in Monaco, but like made for Monza. That's exactly, or made for Maranello. It was a perfect quote. But yeah, that was my meme of the week. Owen, what the hell
my meme of the week. It's a cow in a wind tunnel. It's literally what it is. The quote on it is aerodynamics of RB20 as soon as Adrian Newey left. The only reason I picked this is because this is the story that we've been pumping for weeks now of just it's not a shocking coincidence that Adrian Newey leaves and our Red Bull starts struggling. And it's just, I just thought it was funny. I also think it looks hilarious that it's a cow in a wind tunnel.
Yeah, that's
testing the aerodynamics of a cow.
And all I can see in the little screens, like on my computer, I can see you and me, and then I could see the screen share. So all I see is the cow, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, but I think it's great. Obviously, coming from Formula Dank, great place.
Where you always get your memes of the week from?
Oh, it's just too easy. When they come up with gold like that, it's too easy.
Yeah, they do the work for you. Well, I saw my meme of the week earlier in the day and didn't save it. And then you should have seen me the other night. You should see me Sunday night. I was like searching all over the place. I was on Formula Dank, scrolling all the way back. Then I got to like 24 hours later. I was like, okay, I'm too far now. And then I finally found it. And I was like, yes, thank God. I was like, what can I even search on like Twitter? Like Charles LeClerc, Trump, Obama. I was like, you never know what you're going to get.
You would probably, did you do that?
I don't even remember how I ended up finding it, but I did not search that.
If you didn't do that, you probably would find it, but who knows?
I think I just happened to be scrolling, and then I saw it again, and I was like, yes, thank God.
Came across it.
Yeah. Before we get into our weekly news, as always, at the bottom of the screen, it's scrolling the entire time. Please use code Underground10, only Val's deleting you, at ipf1store.com for amazing hand-drawn,
it's so
beautiful pieces of art. Yeah, we say it all the time. But we mean it every single week when we say it. This one on my desk of Suzuka it's with, I don't know exactly what car it's supposed to be, but it's absolutely beautiful because the cherry blossoms are my favorite. So yeah, you can get that. It just sits on my desk. It's very little, but I could get this also blown up on my wall. There's coffee mugs, travel coffee mugs. Now there's hats you can get exclusively in the US. There's t-shirts, so you can be decked out.
If you're a person who enjoys art and F1, this is the perfect website for you.
And cool merch and cool, like not normal, like where you can go on like Formula One's website and get the same thing. But
it's gonna be you get a hat or a shirt or something, or like you said, even like wall art, and like you have like people come over, like you're out and about wearing the hat or the shirt or something. It's going to be a piece that people are going to look at you and be like, where did that person get that? Like it's so cool. It's so unique. It's such a different take on F1 art and F1 merchandise. And it's beautiful. I mean, there's like no other word I can use to describe it. It's just so beautiful.
Yes. So as like I said, the code will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen the entire episode. If you are watching on YouTube, it's also in our link tree, but it is Underground 10. Only Val is leading you, and then please, you get 10% off over at ipf1store.com. So that was the meme of the week. Yeah, that was meme of the week. Now on to weekly news. I was like, wait a second.
Now on to weekly news, yes.
So before we get into, there were like two pieces of news today that came out. We've been in good luck recently with news that's coming out.
Something about I don't want to shift it. I'll knock on my desk a little bit, but something about the Formula One news cycle has shifted to before we record.
Yeah, and which I appreciate.
Which we love. Which, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, it's definitely just Formula One just being nice to us. Like they're like, hey, they say that news breaks when we on Wednesdays after they record. Let's just do them a favor. But yeah, it's nice. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it being on a Tuesday and it just being like, oh shit, look at that. This story broke. We can talk about this tonight. Perfect.
Because normally we would hit end record, wake up Wednesday morning, and there'd be some breaking news.
And there's news.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what happened with Lewis at the beginning of the season?
No. Lewis, the night before, it was this time, which this time in Italy is past midnight. So it was this time they all started dropping these cryptic, the reliable journalists all kept dropping these cryptic messages and on Twitter and stuff, and everyone's like, what is happening? And then I remember waking up, checking right away, nothing. And then later on it broke. And I remember texting you and being like, I'm sorry, Lewis is going to Ferrari.
Yeah, that's going to be so weird. I don't think I'm ready for that yet.
Oh, we can get into it later, but after this weekend, I'm so excited for it.
Yeah.
With him next year. But yeah, so it's working for us. But before we get into those two pieces of news, there was some drama over the weekend with IndyCar.
Yeah.
So basically, long story short, NASCAR announced that they will be going to Mexico City next year and racing in Mexico City in June of 2025, which is huge. Amazing. They're taking the sport and going, which Pato O'Ward later on says they are literally overtaking us because with their marketing, with what they're doing, with their taking the sport and making it global, like how the NFL goes global, now MLB, all that stuff. So, I mean, Pato, who's Mexican, is very strongly wanting the same thing to kind of happen for IndyCar. And the CEO of IndyCar, Mark Miles, goes on to say, I will say that it is clear Pato isn't as famous as the last previously famous Mexican driver, Adrian Fernandez, but he's really gaining ground, and he's actually on some billboards now. And immediately that quote,
that's a poor quote.
That quote blew up. You had Alexander Rossi post 6 points, literally use his extra characters that he could use on Twitter for reasons why I think Pato O'Ward is actually as famous as he thinks he is, while I'm sitting on the couch, and he lists different points. You had multiple drivers sticking up for him, all this stuff. People literally screenshotted IndyCar's Instagram followers, Joseph Newgarden's Instagram followers, who they market as their golden boy.
That's their Max Verstappen.
Yeah. And then there's now, and then Pato O'Ward. Pato O'Ward has Pato O'Ward, hold on, I can look it up real quick. IndyCar on Instagram has 672,000 followers, okay? IndyCar.
72,000. Okay.
That's the
brand.
Mm-hmm. Pato O'Ward has 693,000 on Instagram. Joseph Newgarden has 147,000.
Yeah, see, that's wild. See, you can't be making those comments when your one driver literally just out punches you like that on Instagram. And
that's what people were saying. They're like, I'm sorry, what? I didn't know IndyCar last year, the year before when I first got into F1, but I knew who Pato O'Ward is because that's Zach Brown's a genius. Pato O'Ward has a great personality.
Marketable.
Yeah, he's marketable. Literally, Alexander Rossi's one point is the man has to have his own merch stands at races. Yeah. Because, people come just for him.
People love him.
Yeah. It was wild. He then goes on, Pato. This past weekend, there was a doubleheader in Milwaukee for them.
Right.
Which the race was also connected to the Wisconsin State Fair.
Okay.
Qualifying day, barely anyone in the stands. People were they literally only market the Indy 500 and then forget about any other race the entire rest of the year. That's not how it works. But So Pato goes on to win the first race of the year, the first race of the weekend.
Good work, Pato.
His Instagram and TikTok caption goes, Pato who? Someone else, I think it was Colton Herta, said, I think he might be on some more billboards soon. Then the next day, then there's now new headlines coming out yesterday that NASCAR has reached out to Pato O'Ward to see if he would want to race that weekend in Mexico City.
Please do it.
Yeah. Zach Brown said he'd be more than willing to let him take that opportunity. Yeah.
It's just, you've missed on a comment, on a quote, when literally the athletes who make your sport happen, i.e. the drivers, are just all making jokes about this. Like, and are all just being like you're saying, the best example out is Rossi coming out and just being like, hey, here's like 10 points why he's actually as famous as he is, you know? And it's like, I'm just like, whatever possessed the CEO, whatever he said it in like gesturing fun, like, doesn't matter. Like, that's just something, like, as a CEO, like, you just know that you can't even like go near. Like,
no. And that's what I was like, this was before I knew Zach Brown was in Monza, and I was like, oh my god, if Zach Brown is in Milwaukee, I was he is going to, I was like, I'm sure he was going off anyway on his phone, but yeah, Pato's his golden boy, just like Lando and Oscar are his golden boy. Like, no one's touching Pato. So yeah, it was very drama, but I said, kudos to NASCAR, man. They saw an opportunity and they said, we're going to make this good for us.
Dude, whoever came up with that idea in NASCAR, round of applause. That's huge. Just to like keep an eye on that and just to be like, oh, hey, like this IndyCar driver's getting a lot of shit. Let's yank him over a little bit, you know? And it's a brilliant move by NASCAR.
Yeah, and people were saying with that Kyle Larson, who drove an Indy 500 under Aaron McLaren, they're like, just do a slot for, because there is an IndyCar race that exact same weekend. They're at Gateway that same exact weekend next year. So people are like, just do a swap. Like, give Kyle Larson another shot in the IndyCar. Let Pato go to Mexico where it's his home. Like, it's where he's from. Like,
absolutely.
If it happens, and NASCAR brings a ton of people anyway, but if Pato O'Ward gets to drive at the Mexico race next year for NASCAR, kudos to that person, whoever decided.
Again, round of applause to whatever NASCAR employee that thought of that idea,
And even Zach Brown being like, yo, I'm not going to tell him no. Like, because Zach Brown also knows what it would mean to Pato.
Zach Brown gets it.
They bring Pato as their reserve driver to F1 when they're in Mexico. And there's people out of the garage waiting for Pato. He's not even in the car the full weekend. So, like, Zach Brown understands. He's a smart man. NASCAR understands.
Zach Brown's looking at it from a personal perspective, but also a business perspective where he's like, I get it. This would be huge to Pato to go and drive in his home country. Like, this would be, something that would mean the world to him. And, there's untold amounts of, good fortune and or whatever that can come from, doing that for a driver. And then he's looking at it from a business perspective where he's like, this is going to look really good for us and me and everything. Like, what we're saying right now of like, hey, good on you, Zach Brown. That's what he wants out of it. But it doesn't change the fact that Zach Brown is saying like, yes, go race in your home country. Like, that's got to be something that, we just saw that with Charles. We've seen it twice so far with Charles this year, with Monaco and Monza. So Zach Brown knows, like, this goes well. Not saying that Pato's going to come in and win NASCAR, but if he wins that race or does well in that race, it's gonna mean the world to him.
And that's like, Pato is the reason you have this. I don't know if it's giving Pato too much credit, but I do agree. Pato is that perfect crossover from the F1 fans to IndyCar fans.
Yes.
Like, he is the perfect person. It was perfect for them to have him as the McLaren reserve driver. So it's like that automatic crossover. When you see Pato, you're like, oh, he's nice. I can root for him. And then you're like, oh, I can really root for him.
I can actually go root
for a whole season. Yeah.
Yeah.
But him winning that Saturday, I kept saying, I was like, that's the perfect middle finger.
Oh, that is pure karma. That is straight. That is the most eloquent form of karma I think I've ever seen. Of just, oh, hey, CEO says these comments, Pato Award goes and wins a race. And it's like, like you're saying, it's a big, just fuck you middle finger. Like, I am as good as like I say I am, or I am as popular as I say I am. Like,
if not more.
Yeah.
But so that was the quick IndyCar recap. I still have to go back and watch Sunday's race from IndyCar because I keep seeing the things. It was wild, so I need to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
But the more I watch, because I did watch Saturdays, the more I see, I really want to go to an oval race for IndyCar next year.
It's gotta be, the speed's gotta be nuts.
And they can go like 2-3 wide.
Yeah. It's
like
gotta
down
be
the straights. I want to go so bad. It looks so much fun. But yes, okay. Moving on to the next. This is it's not breaking news yet.
It's not confirmed.
Yes, it's a very strong rumor. When you have the reputable sources like our friend Mark, BBC writing these articles, I think it's coming true.
It's gonna happen. It's happening.
Yeah, it's happening. But yes, so it is pretty 99.9% going to happen that Adrian Newey will be joining Aston Martin, which is wild. Which the news could be confirmed by the end of the month, or it could be as soon as next week before Baku. So we will see. Yeah, we'll see what happens. That one definitely doesn't like it.
I don't like it. Listen. If the other part of the rumor, which is Adrian Newey's payday, is true, like
the $100 million,
I'm all for if you're a genius and you have this expertise and the knowledge that you're like, I know that I'm worth this. I'm gonna go get my bag. Sure, go get your bag. Like, get your payday. Earn that money that you know you deserve. You know, that's great. I'm happy for him. From a personal standpoint, it would have been awesome if it was McLaren. It would have been awesome too if it was Ferrari. But Aston Martin just kind of feels like a letdown because it just feels, to me, it feels just kind of just like meh. Like, out of all the teams, like it's like one of the least like interesting ones that you could have chosen.
Yeah, but it's to turn around to go to them before these new regs come. And remember, I said before, Aston Martin's getting the Honda engine, which is the engine that Adrian Newey worked on for years.
Yeah, I know. But it just, I think part of it is too, and I'm not going to pull any punches here. I think it is just a little bit of my disdain with Lance Stroll and just being like, he does not feel like a driver to me that deserves Adrian Newey.
Fernando Alonso?
Yes. Fernando Alonso, yes, absolutely. Like, I would love to see Fernando, especially after this year and the start they had last year, back in the fight for another championship for Fernando. I think that would be awesome. I think if he is close to retirement, that would definitely seal the deal for him. I could definitely see him going out on like a high note kind of thing. Like, you know, like I won the championship. I wasn't thinking about retiring for another 3 years, but hey, now that I just did that, I'm out. See ya. You know, but I just like, yeah, it definitely is, you know, just like my disdain of Lance Stroll, where I'm just like, just doesn't feel like that's a great choice, Adrian. You know, it doesn't feel like that. You know.
No, I'm with you. But yeah, so that's what we know now. It's coming. I mean, I feel like it's also one of another worst kept secret because it's been him to Aston Martin for weeks now. But
yeah, ever since we had that like week and a half where it was like every team was possibly mentioned. It was like
it's like him and Carlos Mercedes, at the same time.
Ferrari. We even had Williams thrown into the mix, and then it was
Williams was in the mix for a decent amount of time,
right? But it was like a solid week where his name was just getting attached to every single team. And then it was like the last rumor to come out was Adrian Newey to Aston Martin, and then they all died. It was like that's where that news story kind of stopped, and then now we're getting it back to this like.
Well, And then you had Fred. You had Fred being like, "No, we're not. Like, we're not. It's not coming to us." Because then as you read more about how much power Adrian Newey wants, it made sense why he wouldn't go to Ferrari. I also think it makes sense why he wouldn't want to go to why McLaren wouldn't want him. Yeah. So it just as you kept hearing more and more about what Adrian Newey wanted, you're like, yeah, okay, I get it, makes sense. But yeah, so we'll wait for that. We'll see if it's by next week or the end of September. So, yeah, if you can come in and get Fernando Alonso like 1 or 2 more wins, even, I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But yes, moving on. This is legit. So after the past few races, Red Bull and Ferrari were complaining about the McLaren and Mercedes front wing, saying that it was like flexing or bending a little too much.
Had too much flex, yeah.
Yeah. So the FIA released a statement this morning saying the FIA is examining front wings at every event with numerous checks, conformity of surfaces, conformity of deflections with respect to the relevant F1 technical regulations. All front wings are currently compliant with the 2024 regulations, meaning McLaren or Ferrari and Red Bull, you're out of luck because they're saying they're illegal, and that's why McLaren's in the front so much. But yeah, so we'll see if Red Bull and Ferrari do see how their front wings are flexing a little bit more. I would not be surprised if we see a front wing upgrade for both teams in the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
That look more like this their front wing. So, but yeah, people are just laughing because normally it's like Mercedes going to complain about like Red Bull or Mercedes going to complain about Ferrari.
Yeah.
And now it's Red Bull and Ferrari joining forces. When did you ever think you would hear that?
Never.
Yeah.
I don't blame them for looking into it. I mean, it's it's definitely there are other factors into Red Bull's recent fall off, but definitely like, yeah, if you're watching, footage from the race and all of a sudden you're like, oh, hey, that's bending that's bending a lot. I absolutely go to the FIA and just be like, hey, just want you to double check on this, and it seems like, due diligence was done and everything. And it was investigated. And like I said, the, FIA came out and was like, yeah, it's legal. It's good.
All good. But yes, so that was our weekly news.
Weekly news.
Earlier today, I was like, all we're going to have is the IndyCar drama. And then right before we started, I was like, oh, wait, no, there's other stuff that came out today.
Yes.
Pints and pit stops.
Pints and pit stops. I feel like we haven't done like a standard pints and pit stops for a while.
Well, we did at the live, but that wasn't standard because we had.
That's what I'm saying. Like it wasn't. Yeah. That wasn't like a regular pints and pit stops. So
I'm nervous. I haven't done a pints and pit stops in forever.
If you're new here, and if you made it this far in this episode, congrats to you. Pints and pit stops is a segment that we do where we quiz each other. It is 5 trivia questions related to some topic. Most of the time, it's stuff from a previous race, or it's just kind of drivers in general. And you have to answer the questions as quickly as possible. That's the pit stop part of it. The pints aspect of it is I really like beer. I like trying beer. So I try to, every time we record and we do this segment, have a new beer with me. Haven't had a new beer in a while. Do not have a new beer now. However, the pints aspect of this episode, and we are not affiliated with this brand in any form of way, just really enjoy it, is Gatorade Zero. I am marathon training right now, so Gatorade Zero is a lifesaver in my household right now. I genuinely think, like, I just did 7 miles before we did this. I genuinely think I came home and this thing was gone in 10 seconds.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah.
I was not ready. I did not know what you were going to say.
I was wondering if it was going to get a laugh out of you.
I was not ready for it. I was like, okay.
So the way this works, like I said, Casey must answer the questions as quickly as possible.
And all about Monza, right?
This is all about Monza.
Great.
I did I did get most of these questions. When I say most, I mean all but one, from watching the race recap video on Formula One's YouTube. So if you watched that, you be okay.
I didn't.
So
I watched the whole race.
Right. So you should be fine. But yeah. There's the one question I didn't get from the recap video, you'll also know.
Okay.
So
who won?
No. So I will read Casey the first question. Once I finish that first question, I will start the timer. For every question that she gets wrong, we add a second. For every question that she gets right, we take off a second.
Mm-hmm.
So
trying not to be like the pit stops from this week. That all sucked. So
yeah, they were brutal. They were like felt like all slow. So I'll hold the clock up when we get going.
I can see myself.
Yeah, I saw that too. I'll hold it like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right, ready?
Yep.
All right. Who did Nico Hülkenberg make contact with on the first lap?
Yuki.
Who did Checo overtake to take 7th place?
Carlos. It's also wrong.
Did Lando perform a 1 or 2 stop race?
2.
When did Ferrari last win in Monza?
2019.
What was the gap to Oscar for Charles?
Oh, at the end, it was like 2 seconds. That was long.
Right. So your time was a 28:38.
You're going to add seconds. I know it.
All right. Who did Nico Hülkenberg make contact with on the first lap? That was Daniel Ricciardo.
Okay. I was like trying to remember who I posted about like at the very beginning.
That was the shot of you were looking down the chicane kind of.
Yes.
And you were main focused on Oscar overtaking Lando. But then you just saw a big plume of dust and gravel in the back. That was that contact. Yes.
And that's when they both got a penalty, and then Daniel didn't serve it right, so then he got an extra penalty.
Yes. All right. Who did Checo overtake for 7th place? I knew this one was going to be tricky. It's George Russell.
Okay, they actually had, I think, him showing on the screen when it happened. So
yes,
I can remember when.
You do see it happen on the screen. The only reason I thought it would be tricky and I thought it would be a good one to put in is just because George Russell started in 3rd. So
he dropped back so early.
Yes, when you went into the first turn, George kind of locked up a bit. Somebody made contact with him too. I can't remember who. And he had to go into the runoff road.
Yes. Yes.
So then he's slaloming through the barriers and he comes back on. And because he comes back on and kind of has to like feather it into the pack again, he loses a couple spots.
Okay.
Did Lando perform a 1 or 2 stop race? You got that one correct. That was a 2-stop race.
I knew that one.
When did Ferrari last win in Monza? You said 2019. It is 2019. That was also won by Charles LeClerc.
Yeah, he wins in Spa. He wins in Monza, where he beat. That's the thing. If you look at the comparisons, that's when he won in 2019. They were the underdogs. He beat the 2 Mercedes who were winning every race, and then he somehow wins Monza, and then this past weekend.
Yes. Yeah. And then finally, the last question. What was the gap to Oscar from Charles when the race was done? It is 2.6 seconds. You said 2 seconds, so I'm going to give it to you because you were within.
All I remember was seeing the 2, and I was stressed.
So with that, you gained a second, and then lost a second.
Oh,
so you shaved a second off of your time for a final time of 27:38.
That was slow. A lot happened that race. See?
A lot did happen that race.
Why wasn't that the race we were watching at the Human Robot?
Honestly. it really should have been.
No, because I don't think I could have handled Charles winning in public.
I don't think I could have handled Charles winning in public.
I don't think I could have. Speaking of Monza,
but that was Pints and Pit Stops.
The Temple of Speed.
The Temple of Speed. I love that name for that track.
No, but it makes so much sense. What are you writing down, my time?
Yes, I was also fixing a previous time that I had written down for you. All right. Back to going from that right into our race recap. And our race recap is brought to you by our lovely, lovely friends at BoxBox Club. BoxBox is an awesome app built by Formula One fans for Formula One fans. They cover everything in the app. It's your one-stop shop for everything you need F1. They have news. They have when the next, schedules. They have details about the circuits. They have standings. They have how much percentage of the season are we through. They give you you can set your favorite team and get notifications just for them. It's a beautifully well-built app. This is also coming from a person who works in technology and is very, very critical of well-built or poorly built apps. Genuinely one of the best apps I've ever used. And is quickly becoming. I used to use the Formula One app whenever I would think like, oh, what's the driver standings or what's the constructor standings or when's the next race, stuff like that. I would go to the Formula One app. Now I'm going to BoxBox. So beautiful app. We recently partnership with them, which we said so many times. I'm so thrilled about it. It's so much fun. So please, what that means for you guys is you can use code Underground30. There is no vowels except for the leading U. Underground30 when you purchase the app's subscription, ultra subscription plan. Like losing my train of thought really bad. Underground30 gets you 30% off the ultra plan subscription. The ultra plan subscription I highly recommend. It is worth it. It gets you so much more customization. All the widgets that you get for your phone, there's so many. I'll actually won't go in depth how many you can get, but I'll show you guys add widget BoxBox. So if you're familiar with iOS, this is the widget menu. And there's so many options. It just goes. And I'm skipping options too. I need to go slower. There's so many things you can do. They even have the F1 Academy schedule. They have F3 schedule, they have F2 schedule. So it's just a wonderfully built app. Thank you so much to BoxBox for partnering with us. We couldn't be more excited about it. Like I said, the code is Underground30. You can use the code in the app, but you can also click on the link in our description below. That'll take you right to the App Store, let you download the app if you don't have it already, and also purchase a subscription. So thank you so much, Monza. All I gotta say is you wanted to do something. Yes. Do you want to start with them or do you want to finish with them?
No, I want to finish with them.
Let's start with that.
Should I sit like this?
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
you have every right to be celebrating.
It's the annoying material. Is rough, but yeah, that's all I wanted to do. Thanks for watching.
The team I want to start with, just because they were kind of towards the end of the pack, and they're really the only ones that I kind of have anything with, is Haas.
Well, I literally have the FIA decision up for K-Mag, so thank you.
So K-Mag received a penalty during the race. He had made contact, I believe, with Yuki Tsunoda at one point, and he had gotten a 5-second penalty. But more importantly from that, he had gotten 2 more points on his super license, reaching 12 in the 1-year time frame. So he is banned from racing in Baku.
Yes, and we don't know who it's going to be yet. Everyone's just thinking it's going to be Ollie. It would make sense that it's Ollie.
It would make sense.
But they have to get special permission from Ferrari Driver Academy if they can use him.
Right.
But yeah, it would make sense for Ollie. Obviously, why would you not want to put in the driver who you're signing next year as a rookie? So, yeah. So we're waiting. But yeah, he has the 12 penalty points, and then once following that one race ban, the 12 penalty points will be removed. So this, I think 2 years ago, it was Pierre Gasly was very, very close to getting the race ban,
Yeah.
but then he didn't. But yeah, now K-Mag, K-Mag literally finishes in the points and then gets the race.
Gets a penalty.
Yeah. But yeah, so taking all those shots to be a good teammate and defend on everyone for Hulkenberg. But yeah, so that's kind of like I said, they had a decent weekend. Hulkenberg was into Q3 again.
Right.
He's so consistent getting into Q3. It's like a given. You just expect Hulkenberg to be in the Q3, but then at the beginning, he obviously had that contact and with Daniel Ricciardo and fell back pretty quickly.
Pretty far.
At the start of the race.
He finished 17th, finishing 7 positions down from where he started.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know Box gives you how long they went on their stints for.
Yeah, see? I love this app. It's so good.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's really, to me, that's kind of it for Haas. I mean, K-Mag, like you said, K-Mag finishes in the points. He finishes 10th.
K-Mag also did a one-stop.
Yes. K-Mag, oh, yeah, you're right. K-Mag did do a one-stop. He went from lap 1 to 14th on mediums and then 14th to 53 on hards. I definitely, yeah, I mean, it makes no sense for it not to be Ollie.
Yeah, and I don't see why Ferrari wouldn't give them permit. Like, I don't understand why they wouldn't say yes.
Yeah, it feels like a no-brainer. And it's
like, I can't think if F2 is driving, but it's not like Ollie's in the hunt for an F2 championship. Like, and he needs those points. Like, he's had bad luck in the F2 this year, so I don't see why they wouldn't let him. But yeah, pray for Ollie's dad. He'll be back.
He will be back, which will be awesome. Another team that we can kind of breeze through, but both of the drivers doing a one-stop strategy. Sauber.
Yeah.
They did so Valtteri Bottas finished 16th, Zhou Guanyu finished 18th. They kind of did reverse strategies on tires. So that Bottas started on hards, went from lap 1 to 33 on hards, and then 33 to 52 on mediums. And then Zhou went 1 to 15 on mediums and 15 to 52 on hards. They were lapped, so that's why they only did 52 laps. But I mean, like, still, they continue to struggle. I would say it's a pretty safe bet at this point that they're not going to score any points before the end of the season.
They're like Haas from how many years ago? Yeah, you just kind of forget about them during the weekend. But, like, Bottas looked good during practices this week. He was, like, up at the top for the majority of it. Like, he looked good. And then, yeah, it's just, I mean, he went up. He finished 3 places higher than where he started the race. So,
right.
That's saying something. But, yeah, they're just not good. Not good. But, yeah, and they still obviously have another seat open. So, you don't know what's going to happen there.
Yep.
But, yeah. I think we can talk about V-Carb.
Yes.
No points for them. Daniel also did the one-stop strategy. And then Yuki obviously retired on lap 7. So
yeah, which was a little just tough to see just because it's Yuki. And it's he
commented, or his Instagram post said, 1 year Monza will love me back. And if you look, someone posted his past 4-year race history at Monza. He's finished 1 time, and he was in 14th place last year.
That's brutal. That is brutal.
And then you have him on the fan experience stage saying that he likes pineapple on his pizza in a crowd full of Italians.
Oh, what? Why?
So maybe they cursed you, Yuki.
Yeah, that now just feels like he did it to himself.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's, I mean, nothing really to report on them as well. Who else? Well, there's Alpine. No points for them, but they did get the fastest pit stop of the weekend.
They did get the fastest pit stop of the weekend. Yeah, like you're saying, no points for them. I do like that the drivers both kind of swapped spots.
Yeah.
Because it's, Esteban finished 14th, 1 up from where he started, and Pierre finished 15th, 1 down from where he started.
Yeah, and Pierre did the 2-stop, so.
Yes, strategy. But yeah, no, I mean, nothing really there. I don't know. I can can never think of anything for them because it's so the battle up front is taking so much of my attention during these races that it's like you have these teams that it's like they didn't finish in the points, and it's like, all right,
yeah. Well, and then you have Aston Martin, who didn't finish in the points.
Right.
But one team I think we do need to spend some time talking about, Williams.
Oh yeah,
they had a promising looking weekend.
They had a good, for Williams standard, they had a good weekend. They had a
for Williams standard,
I would even say a great weekend.
Yes, yes, I would too. For the driver getting the call like 5 days before, being thrown into the car, then everyone's getting taken out the parabolica on practice, including him. Like, they did very, very well. I mean, Alex finished with 2 points in 9th.
Yep.
He literally started and finished where he qualified. And then Franco Colapinto finished in 12th, went up 6 spots.
That is for your first drive. Like I said, it's a huge weekend, and that's such a good showing. And
and to be that close to the points too.
It sucks personally, but Williams now, like, seeing that after deciding to replace Logan Sargent and seeing this result with Franco is big. It's big for Williams.
I mean, and like we said, the next 9 races are his perfect tryout. Like, you have V-Carb, or you have, Sauber that has a seat open.
Yeah. I mean, we said what when we were talking last week about Franco, if he finishes twice in the points for these last 9 races, he did his job, and making your debut and being 2 spots away from the points, it's a good debut. It's a very good debut. Very good
debut. Now, we do have 2 street tracks coming up, and they're some of the more difficult street tracks coming up. So, but I mean, I have confidence in the kid. During the post-race interview on F1 TV, he was so calm and collected. Like, you would have thought he's been in that car all season. The way he was, like, the way he said he, like, prepped himself and all that. Yeah, he was very, very, it was nice to see. I'm excited for them that after all the hate James Val got for kicking Liam to the curb and stuff, that I think Franco Colapinto is a good pick for the foreseeable future. But yes, now, top 4. I don't know who you want to start with.
Let's start with Mercedes, because they had more of I feel like there's less to talk about there.
Well, also Red Bull.
Yeah. All right, let's do Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari. So Mercedes, pretty tough weekend for them. I mean, you had George finishing in 7th. He dropped 4 spots down.
I got to turn my light on, okay?
Keep going while Casey turns the light on. He finishes 4 spots from where he qualified. It's just like, it's tough to see, especially because he had qualified so high. And
came out of nowhere.
And when you look at it in comparison to you're then qualifying 3rd versus Red Bull, who's qualifying 6th and 7th, or 7th and 8th, or something like that. It's tough to see that, because it's, you had a chance to capitalize on it and you couldn't really. But
with George, who had very, very limited run time.
Yeah.
Because Kimi, who we didn't even talk about, Kimi Antonelli going in FP1 is sending it around that first lap. Goes fastest and no one's touching his time for a few seconds.
Yep.
Then he's on a second flying lap, and that parabolica just got him in the gravel. He spun. That was what did it say? Like 52 Gs or something? 42 Gs is what the car,
he took a big dive into the wall.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about Kimi. It wasn't like his setting the top time wasn't like he was the first car out there on the track and he had set it, and then immediately Lando or Max or Charles comes out and rips it away from him. No, he set it when there was multiple cars out there, and a couple cars had crossed the line. A couple big names had crossed the line too once he had done it, and they didn't touch him. So. No,
and
it's a good sign for them.
Oh, I think it's also a great sign, and that's what people like. Oh, he crashed, and people right away were like, "Well, it's going to be way too soon when he's in the car next year." People were like,
"Yeah,
first of all, calm yourself. It's Monza. It's the Parabolica at Monza." And then you saw
tough track.
You saw everyone else in FP1 getting caught by the gravel. So like it wasn't people just said that's the difference with him being so inexperienced. Like Carlos did almost the same thing, but New went to cool it off, so he didn't spin into the gravel. Kimi just didn't know.
He's not yet.
But for him to be that on the limit for those first 2 laps is he's going to have a bright future.
Very, very bright future.
Yeah, and then we didn't even finish. And then they do announce him as driving for Mercedes next year.
He is, so it is official. George and Kimi are the Mercedes pairing for next year. So it's, I think what we saw from, there's nothing to be majorly concerned about from what we saw with Kimi.
No.
It's not like this is a driver that they signed that they're going to be like, oh, we're really unsure about him. No, he's got some big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
And B, he has the confidence to kind of do it. I don't think he would have been sending it that hard around Monza, driving that car for kind of what it is the first time, if he didn't have the confidence.
No, and that's what I did like his one quote, because like you said, he has big shoes to fill. And he's like, I'm not replacing Lewis. He's like, I'm the next driver. Like he's like, I know who's in this seat, who was in this seat. Like, I'm not trying to be like, step aside. Like, I know who I'm coming in and technically replacing. He's like, but I'm just the next driver. But yeah, I do think bright future with that man. I mean, child, because he's literally a kid.
He's a kid. But speaking of Lewis finishes 5th in the race, 1 spot up from where he qualified. So hey, it's 10 points. It still just kind of sucks to see that you couldn't really capitalize more on the Red Bull fiasco. But they're not. Mercedes is like kind of in the fight, but not like one of the bigger names in the fight right now. So I don't really know what to say about it, because it doesn't feel like a horrible thing, but it doesn't also feel like a great thing,
No, I agree.
But Red Bull continues to struggle. Max finishes in 6th, which this is going to sound like the even weirder part of the sentence, is that's 1 spot up from where he qualified. It's such a weird thing to say. And Checo finishes 8th, which is where he qualified. So
Did you get
8 points. Go ahead.
Did you see the creepy stat from when Charles won in Monaco?
Yes.
Max finished 6th, Oscar 2nd.
I did see that. I think I saw that like a couple hours after the race, and I was like, whoa. I was like, that's weird.
Happens to be exactly the same thing again.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they continue to struggle. I was watching a video today by The Race, which is a great video. I highly recommend anybody going to watch their stuff on YouTube. They do such a detailed job of breaking stuff down, just about Red Bull's struggle and everything. And it really seems like whatever Red Bull had in the beginning of the year, they are struggling to return to that form.
Yeah.
And they're trying things here and there to figure it out, but they're going to struggle until the end of the year, it sounds like.
Well, I also saw Checo post-race. One of his quotes said, I've been in the same boat for the last 8 to 10 races with the same issues in the car, but now Max all of a sudden has come to similar issues. So when everyone was probably harping on Checo for how long, he was having literally the same issues that Max is now finally complaining about. So, it's not, yes, was it Checo's performance low? Yes, of course, but that car is not good. And then there's things, I think it was Jos Verstappen that was said that Max recommended different things that needed to be done to the car, and Red Bull was like, no, we need the money for something to go somewhere else. And people are like, now apparently they're trying to see if they can make it happen. So, but yeah. Red Bull is Red Bull.
Red Bull is Red Bull.
Red Bull, and we were just so wrong months ago. So wrong.
So wrong. I keep going back to it. We brutally wrong. But
McLaren.
This is
now we won't I know there's been a battle on every single social media for days now. We won't spend all the time in the world on it because I think there's also some questions in the F1 Threads Mailbag, so we can answer them there.
Listen, my thoughts on McLaren are very concise, so I'll keep it concise and very firm in my stance about it.
Yeah, and I have some too, so if you have stuff that I didn't say, I'll add on. But go ahead.
Okay. So, where do I start? I'll start with this. Oscar Piastri did nothing wrong in that race. We cannot blame or attack drivers, race car drivers, let me add, who are built with a competitive spirit we can't sit here and attack them when saying, how dare you race? And how dare you overtake and race and everything? I understand people are frustrated. I get that. But it is neither Lando's nor is it Oscar's fault. The blame right now solely rests on McLaren as an organization and as a strategy formulation.
And that quote-unquote papaya rules.
Right. Papaya rules means, hey, race, just make sure you don't fuck each other up.
No contact.
No contact.
And that's what Oscar did.
He had a brilliant overtake, let me add.
Ballsy overtake.
That off on the first chicane is wild.
On the TV, I literally was like, during the race, when he made that overtake, I was like, oh my God. I was like, Oscar.
Confident that there was going to be contact and both of them were going to be out of the race. I was confident in it. But he pulled it off. It was a spectacular move. Genuinely, I think it should be overtake of the month already.
Oh, people are saying that's going to be that's going to be a highlight reel overtake for him for the rest of his career.
But Oscar did nothing wrong. It boils down to, and I'm going to emulate what Will Buxton said too, because I think his quote.
Oh, did you watch it?
Is dead on. You have Lando in P2 right now in the driver's standings, going after Max. You cannot wait, as McLaren as a strategy, you cannot wait until it is mathematically impossible for Oscar to be out of the championship running to then finally say, okay, hey, we need to put the prioritization on Lando. Think about McLaren last year before they started turning their shit around. You have an ability to go from finishing fourth in the Constructors' Championships to winning it in a year, in one season. And you're going to blow it if you keep up this mentality of, oh, we don't have a number one driver. Oh, they can race each other and everything. Because, listen, you can say papaya rules as many times as you want. There will come a race when they make contact and both of them are knocked out of the race. Oscar and Lando, neither of them should be blamed for it. They are race car drivers. They are doing what they are passionate about and what they love to do. McLaren, figure your shit out. Somebody's honking outside my window in support.
Perfect when you wanted to curse.
In support and censoring me. Figure your shit out, McLaren.
Yeah.
Talk to Oscar. I know Will Buxton was talking about this thing of like maybe there's something in Oscar's contract where they can't say that he's a number 2 driver, blah, blah. I get it. Fine. Sit down, talk to Oscar. If you talk to Oscar, seems like a reasonable guy. When team moves without his permission, that's when he gets a little pissed off. But if you sit down and you talk to him and you say, hey, this is a situation we're in. We have a chance for Lando to win Drivers' Championship. It's like, I can see Oscar being like, all right, I get it. Like, sure.
Yeah, that's what my biggest thing was. They just need to set, if the papaya rules was talked about before the race, you set the wrong rules before the race. Like,
right.
You had a chance to have. I said they need to have some hard conversations some tough conversations because it needs to be figured out. I mean, Will Buxton continues and he said, you have to be sensible, you have to be smart, and they're not doing that. And I mean, if you could have heard his eyes roll when Zach Brown literally said on TV, oh no, we have 2 number 1 drivers. Yeah. That's not going to work.
Not going to work.
It's not going to work. They are going, like you said, they are going to crash and make contact one time and take each other both out, and that's going to be the viable chance Red Bull and Ferrari at this point have to grab as many points as they can.
The team order honestly should have been, if you want your team in the race, this is what should have been said, especially at a track like Monza. Okay, hey, going into the first couple laps, when all 20 cars are still bunched up together and we're diving into a chicane for the first turn, Oscar, your job is to protect Lando.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to sit there and be goalie. Get your elbows out a little bit. Protect Lando. Hold the 1-2 for you guys and go from there.
Yeah.
And then, hey, 10 laps in, if we're pulling away, we have a gap, sure. Then we can maybe talk about papaya rules. And, hey, if you guys want to race each other, you can race each other. Go ahead. Like, we'll let you off the leash. But it should have been going into that first chicane, Oscar, protect Lando, hold the 1-2, go from there.
Yep. I also think Oscar making that move and confidently making that move, like we said, ballsy for someone in their sophomore year of your F1 career.
Very.
But I feel like we got to look into his future, and he's going to make plenty more of those rules.
Yeah. That's not the first time or the last time we're going to see that.
No. Because he's just calm, cool, and collected. He keeps an eye out, and he knew when to make that move. Like, he saw that space and took it. But yeah, they can't continue like this. They're throwing away too many points.
Yeah.
It's not good. They're, like Will Buxton said, it's their perfect opportunity to literally go after both championships. And right now, it's like they don't care about the Drivers' Championship. All they want is the Constructors' Championship. Well, that's not going to work. Like,
it's not going to work.
No. Why would you?
If you prioritize Lando, you have a chance to win both.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and it's not like Lando's carrying the weight of McLaren on his back. You have a very confident driver in the other car who's could finish second place, second spot, literally on Lando's tail. So, like, you have the perfect driver pairing. You have the driver pairing on the grid right now.
Yep.
Take advantage of it. Please, McLaren.
Use it.
Because I can't see the internet blow up week after week. I can't.
Yeah. It's just, it's brutal.
And that's what people were like, well, what about, like, what happened in Hungary? This was a totally different scenario than what happened in Hungary.
Yeah. Completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They really, like, we've been saying it for weeks now, and originally it was for just race strategy, and now it just feels like overall championship strategy.
Yeah.
Figure your shit out, McLaren.
Figure it out. Like, you can do it.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
You can do it. Like, seriously. Like I said, if Zach sits down with Oscar and is like, listen, our goal right now is Lando wins driver champs, we win constructor champs. How do you feel about that? I cannot see Oscar being like, absolutely the fuck not. I want to win this driver champs. Like,
yeah, well, and that's what people were saying. They're like, well, Oscar should, like, give him the position back, like, to help his teammates. Lando doesn't want the championship given to him. He doesn't want the easy way out.
And I thought that was a great quote from Lando, too. Where Lando says, like, I'm not here to beg people for positions. Like, but it's different when it goes into it, and it's, okay, Lando, you qualified P1, you put yourself in pole position. Okay, cool. Oscar, protect him. That's different than, oh, hey, Oscar, you're in front of him, but can you just, swap positions with him?
Yeah, begging on the radio again.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean, if you're going into that race and you've told them papaya rules, I would have expected that to happen. Yeah. Like Oscar to give it all he's got, because
absolutely.
I mean, they're teammates, but at the end of the day, they are competitors and
racers.
It's literally no secret. We all know that Lando struggles on the starts. So he probably saw the opportunity. He's like, Lando's probably not going to do well on the start. I'm going to be able to get ahead.
What's the funny part about that too?
Lando had a good start.
And Oscar still fucking capitalized on it. Like,
yeah. Lando had the best start in the past few weeks, and he's still Oscar got ahead.
You knew it right away too, because I'm like literally sitting there watching it, like lights go out and Lando starts, and in my head, because I can visually see that it was better than all the other ones, I was like, "Oh, good start from Lando."
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, but that's McLaren.
Yeah.
Now to the winning team.
So Casey's 2 for 2 on
Delulu picks. Did I cry again? Yes. I was standing inches from my TV again at the end because I was stressed. There was after qualifying, after Saturday, there was no reason Ferrari and Charles LeClerc should have won that race.
Yeah.
There was no reason Carlos also was close to finishing on the podium. Like, there was I had no faith. I don't think they had any faith they were finishing winning that race.
It definitely came as a surprise to them. Like, it was a shocker that Charles was able to do that. You know?
I mean, so obviously it's now known they both did the one stop.
Yep.
F1 wrote this whole article basically saying that Carlos is the reason why the one stop worked. I do agree to some points. Bernie Collins wrote the article. It's a great article, but they also kind of make it seem like Charles' win is because of Carlos, and I don't agree on that point because Carlos even admitted it, Fred admitted it, and Charles admitted it. They talked about the one stop before the race.
Right.
So they saw it, and then Charles, I was trying to scroll back to find Charles' quote. I'm trying to think. He even said that, they saw the Red Bulls struggle after they stopped, like, so early. And then because then he was pissed because he got undercut with Lando, but then he made it work and was able to go. So they decided on that one stop before the race, and it just happened to pay out because they saw the other teams struggling on those tires. So they were like, okay, let's do it now. We can make it work. If you look at, I don't know if it's every lap Charles did on the hards after he went from the soft to the hard tires, or it's every single lap. Actually it might be just the 38 laps he did on the hards. He has, every lap is 123 except for one. That's how consistent Charles was the entire time on that. And yes, I do think Carlos did keep Oscar back at one. I do think he was keeping Oscar back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then Carlos's tires were like a little bit older and they started dying. Yeah. And that's when Oscar got by, and then that's when Lando got by easily. Yeah. So, did I expect them to win? Absolutely not.
I mean, it's just like it's such a master class of driving from Leclerc.
Yeah.
And the only way that I can think in my head, especially now since you're telling me the 123s, that he just kind of locked it into that.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like he entered almost like a runner's high, like Charles. He recognized where he was, and then just got in this mental state of mind where all these other factors of, I did a one stop, my tires are degrading, I'm gonna start losing grip, Oscar's behind me with the quicker, a quicker car. All
that's
stuff,
good in clean air. And I mean, the gap from Oscar to Charles when he first overtook Carlos was 8 seconds. So Oscar had clean air to catch up.
To him. And it just felt like none of that mattered to Charles. He knew what he needed to do. And he didn't do any, he didn't complain. He didn't think about all these other factors. He just went and did it. And it's it's just like a beautiful, beautiful stint.
Yeah, I mean, he came over the radio at one point because they said something, and he's like, I told you to stop telling me this information.
Yeah. Well, that's even more to my point. The fact that he's like, don't talk to me right now. Even, I know he says oh, don't talk to me under braking and whatnot, or all this stuff. But the fact that the entire time he was like, don't speak to me right now, lends more to this idea that he was locked in.
But they did show F1 TV after, it was Alex Brundle, he was in front of the big screen, and he was breaking down the stint for him because he did 38 laps on those hard tires.
Yeah,
38.
He went from 15 to 53 on those hard tires.
And Alex Brundle was saying I guess because at one point when Charles knew, I think he had it in the bag, that's when he was like, stop talking to me. But the communication that he said that was on the radio between Ferrari pit wall and Charles was so back and forth and so good. He was like, that's the reason why he was able to go. But yeah, I mean, to come across, and Charles even said the last few laps, you could hear it through the TV screen.
Yeah.
You could hear how loud the crowd was getting, like those last few laps, because they knew what was going to happen. Like they
knew what they were witnessing. Like
it was happening again. But yeah, I mean, they gambled on that one stop, and it paid off. I mean, it paid off for both of them. But yeah, I do wish Carlos was on that pit wall with or on the podium with him as well. It would have been just the icing on the top of the cake if he was up there. But yeah, it was. I mean, I also appreciate Alex Jakes, who I had the F1 TV coverage on during the podium. Alex Jakes goes, I'm just going to stop talking and let you enjoy the crowd while they announced Charles Leclerc walking out into the podium. And it was so, like, they were just losing their mind. And it was the coolest rendition of the Italian national anthem. Yeah, I mean, but to do the luck, we all say Charles has had the worst luck. But to do both home races in 1 year.
The fact that I said it was.
The curse was broken.
Yeah, and I was like, if these were the only 2 races he wins this year, that's fine. That's fine. He won Monaco and he won Monza. Like, that is just huge.
And 2 totally different races when it comes to strategy.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a beautiful race. Beautiful race from him. It was. I mean, he did 2 victory laps also. He took his time. He went around twice. Yeah. Well, him and Carlos drove a little bit together during the first one.
I saw that too.
And then he went back around. But yeah, I mean, just winning in that race or at Monza is unreal. And for it to be him, but yeah, like I said, I think he's F1 posted today. Hold on. F1 on Twitter. They posted some stat about Monza and hit multiple wins at Monza for Ferrari. Michael Schumacher's had 5. He is now in the company of Barrichello, Phil Hill, Alberto Ascari, to name a few, and to have 2 wins. Like, he's in good company. Yeah, he's
in good company.
Yeah, I mean, and he's Ferrari's golden boy. So, like, come on.
That's what I'm saying. It would have been awesome if Carlos won too, just because again, it's a Ferrari winning in Italy. But the fact that it was Charles just adds this extra layer to it that you're like, holy shit! Like, what are we with? Like, I can't believe I'm seeing this.
And people after kept being like, "Is Charles now the new tire whisperer?" I'm like, people, Charles is good at managing his tires. Where have you been? I was like,
He's always been good at it.
This is his second one stop of the year. He did the one stop in Suzuka, and people were blown away. Like, because it's unheard of there. But like, Charles has always been good at keeping his tires managed well. So yeah, I loved seeing it, and the other 2 better watch out in drivers' championship standings because
which it's good you brought it up because I'm staring at them right now, and it is
close.
It's close. I mean, it is. I mean, we'll get right into it. I'll do the top 10 drivers and go then into the teams. In first place in the Drivers' Championship, we have MaxVerstappen with a solid 303 points. Like I said, we talked about this before. The driver standings, this was before this weekend, too. The driver standings kind of sealed now, but now there's a chance of Lando coming back in because it feels like the Red Bull performance is staying kind of at this mediocre level. It wasn't like just a random one-off. So Max, first place, 303 points. Second behind him is Lando Norris with 241 points. Third behind him, Charles Leclerc with 217 points. In fourth, we have Oscar Piastri. He has 197 points. This is, again, we've talked about this before, this kind of very close battle from 3 to 8th. In fifth place, we have Carlos Sainz, just 13 points behind Oscar with 184 points. 20 points behind him in sixth is Lewis Hamilton with 164 points. Seventh, 20 points pretty much behind him is Sergio Perez with 143 points. And then finally in 8th, we have George Russell with 128 points.
And it drops off.
Yeah, and then it drops off. So you have Fernando Alonso in 9th with 50 points and Lance Stroll in 10th with 24 points.
Yeah.
The other thing to highlight, too, is this 10th to 12th battle is pretty close. It's Lance Stroll, Nico Hülkenberg, and Yuki Tsunoda sitting at 24, 22, and 22 points, respectively. So there's a tight battle in a lot of spots. But, yeah, I mean, all eyes right now are on that first-place battle. Just because we've seen, obviously, the past 3 years have just been straight up. Max wins it with 5 races left, or, 5 races left in the year, and that's it. It's settled and done. But yeah, all eyes up on this number 1 battle. It's been a blast to watch, and like you said, each race gets better and better. Like it's so much fun. But jumping over to constructor standings, this is where things get much more interesting. In first place, we have Red Bull with 446 points. In second place, we have McLaren, just 8 points behind them with 438 points, which I really
close.
I really don't want to jinx this, but with the way that the boys are performing, the Papaya boys are performing right now, it feels like it's almost a given that Red Bull's going to overtake Red Bull.
You mean McLaren's going to overtake Red Bull?
Yes, I'm sorry. McLaren's going to overtake Red Bull. It's very close. But we cannot take out.
I called you out on this.
I know. We cannot completely knock out Ferrari yet. They currently sit in third place with 407 points. So if you really think about it, the separation from first to third is 40 points.
That's nothing.
That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing, considering when you win a race, you get 25 points. It's just we cannot count it out. It's really like this first to third battle is nuts. Then we have a bit of a separation to fourth with Mercedes with 292 points. And then we have our really big drop off. We have fifth place Aston Martin, 74 points. Sixth place is VCarb, 34 points. Seventh place is Haas with 28. Eighth, Alpine, 13. Ninth, Williams, 6. And still sitting there with the big, fat goose egg, Kick Sauber, 0 points.
So sad.
It's wild. And one of the things that I've been wanting to look at now is on Box. You can do driver head-to-head.
Yeah, you can.
And compare things. And it is seeing just like I'll do the quick Max to Norris, comparison and everything. Like, it's so cool to see just like how well they have done over their career and it's so much fun to dive into. But yeah, I mean, Constructors Championships right now is a massive dogfight for first to third. It's going to be really, really interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, very, very interesting. But yeah,
that was our Monza recap along with our standings update.
Before we quickly get into our F1Threads mailbag.
Yes, F1Threads mailbag is brought to you by our wonderful new friends at Duracell Portable Power Stations. From the #1 trusted battery brand, Duracell Portable Power Stations and charging hubs allow you to power your laptops, mobile devices, lights, speakers, and any small electronics that make your life easier during a power outage or while away from a wall outlet. I'll tell you, when we did our live show, I was really sitting there thinking, and I was like, it would be awesome if we had one of these guys to help power and everything, just because it would have removed that constraint of just like, is there going to be an outlet there? Is there not going to be one? Where is it going to be? Is it going to be in a bad spot? Is it going to be a good spot? It was all fine. There was an outlet, but I was like in the middle of recording. I had thought about that, and I was like, oh my God, if we had one of these things, it'd be great. So please click the link in the description below and check out the Duracell Portable Power Stations, including their 2024 Red Dot Award-winning M150 and M250 models, and untether your device charging from the wall and power the possibilities with the Duracell Portable Power Stations. Thank you to Duracell for sponsoring our F1 Threads Mailbag section of this episode.
Yes, and we will keep it short. We do have a decent amount, but we will keep it short.
Yes.
First up, Frey, who tried really hard not giving a McLaren question.
I appreciate the effort.
She gave up. And we kind of talked about this, so we can easily summarize it. What do you think about the McLaren situation? Are they throwing away both championships because they're unable to handle two great drivers?
Not both. They're throwing away the drivers right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah. But I mean, if they don't get it under control, they could easily throw away both. I think Red Bull could easily skate on by. If
Red Bull figures their shit out and McLaren doesn't, yes, it's going to look real bad for the constructors as well.
But yes, moving on. This is from Hector, who has my favorite Threads name of all time. It's Rocket Cheddar.
That's an awesome name.
Yeah. He said, so it says Max seems to be growing increasingly frustrated with his team. Do you see any possibility of him leaving Red Bull at the end of this season? If so, where does he go? Does he answer Toto's flirting at Mercedes and kick George out? Does he reunite with Newey potentially at Aston and force Lawrence Stroll to kick out his son? And then he put Toto Wolff outside of Milton Keynes, with the boombox over it.
Yes, yeah. Good reference. That was that it? That the other question?
Yeah.
Okay. If I had to choose likely out of those two scenarios, I would say Aston Martin's more likely than Mercedes. I agree. See Max's frustrations are definitely building, and I can see him kind of being like, I want to get back to a person who I know can develop a awesome car. So therefore, I'm going to Aston Martin.
I agree. And yes, he is definitely getting frustrated. His dad's getting frustrated, and we all know how his dad is. So I don't see the possibility of him leaving at the end of this season. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, does he leave next and go into the new regs with another team? You don't know. Yeah, I also agree. I think I would like to see him at Aston Martin. That would be kind of nice. And if Fernando Alonso can stick it out, Max and Fernando Alonso, woo!
It'd be a dirty lineup.
But that's even when you think about it, Max has been in F1 for 10 years. And then you think how long Fernando Alonso's been in F1 for, the experience that team would have.
Oh my God. I would love to know the combined age of the experience there.
It'd be wild. But yes, that was a question. This is from Andreas on Threads as well. With all the various swings and winners week in and week out, do you think the cost cap and new designs are working? Or are people just getting really good at copying designs and playing it safe during the season to not creep up on the cost cap? This is a good question.
Damn, that's a really good question.
He has a follow-up one also, but it's different.
Hold on, let me go find this one because I need to
not good at the cost cap, so I do think new designs are working. I do think they take inspiration from other things that are working on different cars and make them their own. I think anyone would do that, but I do think the innovation and new designs and the engineering and mechanics and stuff we're seeing their craft come forward, because I feel like you have Mercedes making headway with their upgrades. Ferrari's looked pretty good this past weekend, so I do see it in that way. What do you want to say?
I think that I think the cost caps and the new designs are working. Because like we said, it's Formula One for the longest time has always been a money sport. So it was strictly just the more money you had, the better car you could build and therefore win more races. So the cost cap kind of balancing it out. Yeah, I do think that's working. The idea of, I don't think people are getting just really good at copying designs. It's so hard to do that in Formula One. Because when you really get down to the nitty gritty of it, it's every car is built so different, even if they look exactly the same, that, a body part meant for more downforce on the Red Bull might not work really good on a McLaren just because of the way that the car is built. So yeah, I think it's more of the cost cap is definitely playing a factor into why we're seeing winners week in and week out.
Okay, just follow-up question. With street circuits around the corner, could Red Bull be in danger of not being able to afford more upgrades if Checo or Max get into an accident? Do you think a crash could be the final nail in the bad news Bulls saga this year? I think if there's a Monaco level crash,
true.
I mean, they were pissed at how much that cost for them to rebuild Checo's car because it was down to the survivor cell.
Yeah,
so
that was a brutal crash.
I think we could see them, being stressed. It's also Red Bull. They've been winning so much the past few years. I don't think they're hurting completely. They wouldn't hurt completely money-wise, but I do think we could see them maybe pinching some pennies.
Yeah, I could see it too.
And then next question from our good old friend Adam at the new renamed Fantasy HQ. What do you think happens with Ferrari moving forward? Are they back, or did they put all their eggs in one basket? I hope and pray they didn't put all their eggs in one basket like they did after Monaco.
I don't think it was that. I don't think it is that. Like we said, Carlos was up there. It was. I think what played a factor into where Carlos finished versus where he was, is the fact that McLaren did 2 stops and Ferrari was on the 1 stop. Obviously, both of them did the 1 stop.
Yeah,
so, you have McLaren coming in and putting on hard tires, but putting on hard tires that I think around the time were 20 laps fresher than Ferrari's. Mm-hmm. So it was like, there's not much you can do in that situation because you're gonna perform an overtake strictly off of tire health there. It's so I don't think it's eggs all in one basket. I hope not, because it would make the constructors battle a lot more interesting to watch. But yeah.
I also don't think, obviously they brought 9 different upgrades this past weekend, and some were just track specific, but most were in general, and I hope they continue the work for the tracks coming up. So I mean, if that reason, if that works, then I think they're back. Yeah. Their first upgrade just sucked, and that's what set them back for so much. But yeah. And then do you want me to read the one other question or no?
I have. Well, the one that's on mine.
I pulled it up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
This one was under Owen's post from a guy named Garrett. With Toto showing that Kimi will be his new golden boy, how long do you think George will last at Mercedes before realizing he's got no real future there?
This is tough because I don't think that George doesn't have a future at Mercedes. I do think, though, that George will eventually get to a point where kind of like what just happened now with him and Lewis, Kimi will be ready to step into the shoes of a veteran driver. And who knows, George could get an offer from another team that is what he wants, So I don't think I give George a couple more years, but I don't think it's a matter of Kimi is like forcing George out. I think it'll be Kimi will kind of come into his own, and then George will get an offer from another team that he, to put it in an easy way, can't refuse.
I think I could see if Kimi, next year jumps in the car and starts beating George on track.
Yeah.
I could see their questions starting there, but it would be funny if, how Toto keeps preaching about trying to get Max, Red Bull ends up taking George.
That would be so funny. Just like a driver swap.
Yeah. I also understand why he asked, said Golden Boy, because there's that picture after, Kimi's out of the car, and Toto just has, his hand around his waist.
Yeah. He's consoling him for just, crashing.
It literally looks like someone was like, sorry, George, no more sleepovers at Toto's.
Yeah.
It's a new favorite. But yes. Those were all our F1 Threads Mailbag questions. They were good. We had different ones today.
Yeah, I liked it.
Do you have anything else to add before I close this out?
Nothing.
All right.
So out of here.
See, I gotta go. But it doesn't matter. Phillies are losing, so
yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us for episode 75. The fact that we have 75 episodes is wild.
Countdown to 100 is on.
Yeah, it's on. We'll be back next week to preview Baku. I love Baku. I love Castle Corner. It's the infamous.
I think I'm going to lose my mind recording this video, but
yeah, you definitely are. So I'm gonna have another Monaco one.
Yeah.
So we'll be back next week to preview that. We're going to figure out some other stuff to talk about before. I'm sure there'll be news. Please give us a follow on Instagram and Threads at Underground F1. The countdown to 10,000 on Threads is on. I'm not begging. I don't want to beg, but I think I'll cry the day we hit 10,000 on Threads. And then please give us a follow over on Twitter at underground_F1. As always, you can, wherever you listen to your podcast, give us a follow there as well. Like, subscribe, comment, subscribe to us on our YouTube channel.
Do all the things.
All the things. Like we said, we will be back next week to preview the infamous I Am Stupid race corner in Baku. But until then, have a nice week, everyone.
See you later.
See ya.